beginning.
Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry, who is back in the saddle this week, baby. He was stuck on work assignment and unfortunately couldn't join us late in the week, but he is back.
I'm back. It's one of those things where it just sucks to listen to something be done so much better when you're not around. I was listening to it, I was like, damn.
No,
He's
honestly,
better
Tyson,
solo.
it was tough, man. It was tough because I was like, I need somebody to tell me I'm an idiot on some of these plays because in college it did not go well, and we'll get to that later this week as we'll recap that in our college football episode. But pretty good start to the NFL year for me betting. We have a ton to discuss today, Tyson. We're going to go through our week one storylines, start our edition of Stock Up, Stock Down. As you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're in podcast form, go ahead and rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Just stay up to date with everything we're going, as we're going to be doing a lot this football season. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just going to throw this out right now. Our 150th subscriber is getting $50 to Amazon. So so share the show immediately if you're ready for this. Get us out there. The 150th person, if you split it with somebody, there you go. $50 to Amazon. I'm offering that out there right now. So, Tyson.
I'm gonna get it.
You're going to create burner accounts. Listen, we thought we were going to come in here. We're going to talk about everything that was going on on Sunday, because we're recording this at halftime of the Bills and Jets game. Well, we got to talk about the Aaron Rodgers injury because that has major impacts as he goes off about 3 plays into his Jets tenure with an ankle injury.
Is there anything like more predictable?
Jets, man.
It sucks. I mean, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's like I was a little bit, I thought they were going to get housed tonight, was my feeling going into the game. Obviously, Zach Wilson comes in, doesn't look great. We'll get back to the second half here and see what happens, but it's just the same old shit. Like, imagine, you're Quinnen Williams or that defense, and all year last year you keep the team in games, and you get 3 plays, and they weren't even, like, good. Nothing productive happened. He was running for his life, and the offensive line just has to be better because it doesn't matter who's back there, whether it's Rodgers, Wilson, Joe Namath. It does, like, they're all getting smoked.
Yeah, it's a tough blow for the Jets. And like you said, it's just so predictable for a franchise who's been just cursed basically since Joe Namath guaranteed a Super Bowl and it happened. That's just the reality of the New York Jets franchise. And Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were talking on the broadcast. Tyson, there was more people in the stadium tonight than there was for the Super Bowl when they had it at MetLife. Like, that's the level of excitement for this franchise. And the air is let out of the balloon immediately. And now the good news is X-rays are negative. The bad news is, if this is what you're going to be rolling out there in this first 6 games of the season, I mean, it's basically already over.
And the other, he's 40. He's 40 years old. You expect him to just make a superhuman recovery and be back to normal? I mean, it stinks because it was a fun storyline, but the season might be dead. Like, they might be dead in the water 3 plays into the year. We'll see. Okay. They could come back and win this, and we'll sound stupid.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I think they're down 10.5, and the Bills' offense is starting to figure things out. But yeah, I mean, that's something we had to address because that's a huge storyline in the AFC. But Tyson, I think 2 of the bigger storylines that came out of Thursday and Sunday was the lack of offense of the Chiefs and the Bengals. And so we're going to play this here, the panic meter. What is higher for you right now? The Chiefs coming off of a performance where the receivers could not catch the ball with Travis Kelce out, or the Bengals, who had the worst performance from their quarterback, Joe Burrow? T. Higgins was a ghost, and they once again got embarrassed by the Cleveland Browns.
So this might be a cop-out, but I'm going to put my panic level for the Bengals at 1 and my panic level for the Chiefs at 0. Is that fair to do? Because I don't give a shit, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, Cincinnati showed us already. They stink at the beginning of the year. If you thought something else was going to happen after Burrow missed pretty much the entire training camp with his calf injury, it's the same thing as when he had his appendectomy last year. They come out, they lose to the Steelers. We're all like, what's wrong? They lose week 2. They always lose to the Browns. Like, Cleveland's defense just gives them fits in general. So, and the Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champs. They just re-signed Chris Jones today. He's back. He's in the building. Travis Kelce should play next week against the Jaguars. They're going to be fine. But it is a little bit concerning at a certain point with Cincinnati, where it's just like, again, like, you guys aren't ready again, because T. Higgins got 8 targets. I don't know if any of those were very good scheme targets. Jamar Chase didn't really look like he was involved and they were struggling to run the ball as well. And I actually thought Joe Mixon looked kind of more spry and quicker and faster than he did a year ago. And then it was just they were dead. So it's tough to just turn around and hand it to 28.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Joe Mixon actually looked really good. What I was impressed with the Bengals, and I'll answer the question that I posed to you. Their defense to me actually looked good. And all the offseason we heard, well, the safeties are just so important in this defense under Lou Anarumo. And I'm like, safety? Guys, this is the NFL in 2023. Like, we can plug and play. But it was just a talking point. And yes, the final score looked bad, mainly because the offense was not good and the defense was on the field for so long. But they forced Deshaun Watson the bad decisions. They covered up a lot.
Worst throws I've ever seen, though, too.
And he was also baited into stuff, man. Like, I mean, he was inaccurate and he was bad, but he was having to fit things in the tight windows, which he couldn't do. Now, the defense got a little leaky on the ground, but I mean, they were out there for so long. And that's going to happen when you have Nick Chubb and you have to go against that offensive line. But Tyson, I think if I'm going to answer this, the panic meter for me is higher on the Chiefs because that just showed me if Travis Kelce, who's aging, if he happens to get banged up, and this is a knee injury, like it's not all roses here. Like, this is, again, one turn away. It's already bruised. It's already hurt. It's already stressed, where he could be missing the whole year. And if that's the offense that the Chiefs are going to roll out there with those options, I mean, holy smokes, that's not very good. And again, Patrick Mahomes is being Superman and Houdini, and he looked great doing certain things. That was also against the Lions defense, who was a joke last year. And they looked improved a little bit this year. But if those receivers catch the ball, I mean, we're talking about a completely different story. So what happens if they don't have Kelce against the Bills, against the Bengals, against the Jets, let's say, if they can get there, or any of these top-level teams that we're talking about? I think it's a completely different story.
Well, and it goes back to this offseason when it was puzzling to, I think, everybody, where it was like, oh, they're not involved on Odell. They're not involved on DeAndre Hopkins. And maybe those guys wouldn't have made a difference. Like, Odell looked fine, and it's really hard to tell what D-Hop looked like because Tannehill was doing his best impression of Zach Wilson. But, like, everyone wants him to go out now and, go get a receiver. You got to get one from the NFC because none of these AFC teams are about to send somebody to go play with Pat Mahomes for the next decade. And who are you grabbing? Who's available on the trade market after week one? Like, people are so reactionary and ridiculous. Kadarius Toney has the highest drop rate in the history of the NFL through this many targets. And we're surprised that he dropped the ball 4 times. That was too many. He's been dropping the ball too many times since he's been in the NFL. I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, and so I think that's the storyline out of there. And I think for the Bengals, you're right. Like, if we've seen this story before, it's a long season. I think they know that. It's just, once again, like, what's going on in training camp? And again, Burrow's missing another training camp in a row with some sort of injury. So I think that's why they got off to a slow start. But Tyson, the good news is they play the Ravens, who they've absolutely shredded up in this past few years. So that's, if there's a get-right game for that offense, it may be it.
So is the Ravens' entire offense just Zay Flowers?
It looks like it, dude. Like, remember when Todd Monken was supposed to be freaking Don Coryell? Like, that offense looked horrible. I mean, that was bad.
It was so funny to watch.
I'm not sure if they're going to be in your stock down or if they're going to be in my stock down, but I mean, that was bad.
They're somewhere, and they won too, right? That's the thing.
And they played a JV team, so they're lucky because wow, they did not look good. Tyson, last one of the week one storylines. We're going to have a little fun with this one, just like a would you rather, and it's the Daniel Jones edition. And we thought about this because the Giants were just completely embarrassed on Sunday Night Football, outclassed. They lost 40-0 against the Cowboys. But mainly the storyline was how bad Daniel Jones and that offensive line looked. And it was tough for Daniel Jones. But Tyson, this is a guy in the offseason who signed, let me find it on here. That's right. I can go to the top now. $160 million contract. He's going to get paid $40 million a year by the New York Giants. And if that's what you're going to get, it poses the question that we want to ask her. Would you rather have Daniel Jones or one of these quarterbacks who get paid less than him? So we have a list. We can run through it. I'm going to ask you this because I'm a bigger Jared Goff fan than you. Would you rather have Jared Goff for $33.5 million a year or Daniel Jones?
This isn't even fucking close. This isn't even close. I mean, look, I'll take Daniel Jones over some of the guys on the list, I'm sure, but this is a guy it's 78-7 in his last 2 starts. It's not insignificant, right? They go in the playoffs, they lose 38-7 to Philly. They come out week 1 at home, primetime game against a divisional opponent, and they just got wrecked. And, that's the coach of the year, brother.
Yeah, and I believe we've gone over this. It's a Fugazi coach of the year, in my opinion. And I thought he did a good job last year, but come on.
He's a good
I mean,
coach.
that was ridiculous. So we both like Jared Goff. The lesser contract, we'll take him over Daniel Jones. Geno Smith, $25 million a year. Would you rather have Daniel Jones or Geno Smith?
I'd rather have Geno Smith right now.
I think I'd rather have Daniel Jones.
You think?
I think so. Me personally, I just like more mobile. I don't know.
One of the things that's tough with this is like Geno Smith throws to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and they just like they run the ball better than the Giants, even though the Giants have Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones isn't going to turn like Sterling Shepard and these guys into Isaiah Hodgins and everybody else into like really good players. He needs genuine NFL talent around him, and so Geno Smith didn't have that in New York the first time. So I guess that's fair.
Derek Carr, $37.5 million. And this is our $1 million question here, Tyson.
I thought about this. I'm taking Derek Carr because I saw Derek Carr make the playoffs with the Raiders with a very similar situation. And I don't know if I ever saw a Derek Carr offense look that bad.
Yeah, I agree. And we're not a Derek Carr podcast here, but I mean, first of all, you're paying him less than you're paying Daniel Jones, and you have somebody who's more successful. Well, Daniel Jones won a playoff game. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be honest here. Like Derek Carr was an MVP finalist one year.
Yeah, it happened.
Ryan Tannehill, $29.5 million, or Daniel Jones's $40 million a year contract.
So Ryan Tannehill was one of the only quarterbacks I think yesterday that might have looked worse than Daniel Jones. He is officially over the hill. I think we're getting Will Levis or Malik Willis snaps before too long because that was atrocious. And then like Tajay Spears outsnaps Derrick Henry. He's on the field every single third down, and he was open a lot. And Tannehill was just missing. He missed everybody.
Yeah, I'll take Daniel Jones, just the youth. It looks like Tannehill's done there as well. And man, that was really hard to watch with 3 interceptions and just basically cost them the game because they were right in it, just too many mistakes. 2 more, and then I got a fun one for you. Now, here's the question everybody wants to know. Kirk Cousins, right? 35 mil. Is that too easy?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to take Kirk.
Look, you can shoot on Kirk Cousins as much as you want, but like the dude's going to show up and at minimum give you 230 yards a game. He might make some bad decisions. Daniel Jones is going to make bad decisions too. It's just last night was the first time in a year where those actually ended up in the defense's hands. Oh, he didn't throw interception. Didn't mean that he wasn't making bad reads.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, he had those. He had the pick 6 and then the other one that's forcing the sideline too. That was
bad.
That was tough. All right, my guy Jimmy Garoppolo, $24.25 million.
So this is why I wanted to do the segment, is because Jimmy went out and won a fucking football game yesterday in a game on the road that he probably shouldn't have won. I don't know what the Broncos are still, but Vegas didn't look nearly as inept as I kind of thought they were going to. And Jimmy needs Kyle Shanahan a lot more than Kyle Shanahan needs Jimmy. But Jimmy can win without Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if Daniel Jones can win like Andy Reid. I mean, dude, he's a running threat that occasionally can throw the ball. And so you're hoping that 3 times a game he's on the money. That's not how this thing should work for $40 million a year.
No, and I love Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's a winner. He's gotten the worst rap. I mean, he people criticize him more than Kirk Cousins. Like, they actually think Jimmy Garoppolo is like the worst quarterback in the NFL when all he's done is be successful in San Francisco. He's gone to a Super Bowl, missed one throw that everybody harks on as like, oh, we can't make plays. Meanwhile, went out without him, besides before the Brock Purdy era, the 49ers were nothing. And everybody talks about, well, with Shanahan can just do anything with these quarterbacks. You can plug anybody in there. Oh, really? Because look at his record without Jimmy. And all of a sudden now Purdy's in there and he's looking pretty good. So maybe validates that a little bit. But I would love to have Jimmy Garoppolo for, what is that? Almost half as much as you're paying Daniel Jones.
So
now,
crazy.
Last one here, Tyson. I had to throw this in here because I think this is fun. And then we'll move into stock up, stock down. Jordan Love, $3.5 million. Would you rather have Jordan Love or Daniel Jones?
I'm smashing Jordan Love in this pause, I guess. But in this situation, in this game, in this scenario, we've only seen him play twice. So I got some unknown factor there too. But Like he took what the defense gave him yesterday, and granted, like who would have thought the worst team in the NFL a year ago that upgrades one receiver position and drafts an offensive tackle still sucks? Like that was weird, right? But he took what they gave him. He scored a bunch of points, and he was really good. I have one more for you after you answer this one.
Oh, I'm taking Jordan Love. He looked great in his debut, man, in his first start. And yes, against a bad Bears team, but give me the unknown and the upside over what we know with Daniel Jones, who costs a ton of money.
So this is going to make both sides mad, but Justin Fields or Daniel Jones?
I'll take Daniel Jones.
Me too.
Yeah.
Justin Fields looked like not improved. He was good for the first 10 throws of the game. It was like, okay, maybe
when he threw
behind
the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it was like maybe he figured this thing out, and then as the game went on, man, they're going to stink again. That's crazy.
I know. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our first Would You Rather of the season, the Daniel Jones edition. So maybe we'll just call it the Daniel Jones Would You Rather. I don't know, going forward, because he may be coming up in this thing a lot more down the stretch. But Tyson, let's get into stock up and stock down, and let's start with some stock ups here, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. For me, I have to say, man, stock up big time for me. And this may be a cop-out, but if you listen to our preview pods, it's the 49ers, because I had major question marks about what Brock Purdy would look like after his elbow injury. The dude just continues to produce and just continues to get the ball out to his playmakers, and this defense looks fast, experienced, and just completely dominated the Pittsburgh offense that looked good in the preseason that everybody was high on. So for me, stock up majorly 49ers. They are Super Bowl contenders like year after year, and Brock Purdy looks to be the part, and it could be a reason why they actually do it.
I'm in agreement there with you. My first stock up, the New England Patriots defense is going to be top 5, maybe top 3. Like it was a monsoon in the first quarter and all that stuff, and new offensive coordinator for the Eagles and blah, blah, blah. Bill Belichick was throwing looks out there. Even Tony Romo's on the call being like, I've never seen this coverage before. Right. And so Keon White has 5 pressures in like 14 snaps. Like the get off was insane. Christian Gonzalez might as well be at the award ceremony right now for Defensive Rookie of the Year, because Bill's going to be able to do some crazy stuff with him. I mean, the offense was better than it was without a real offensive coordinator for New England. So getting Bill O'Brien in the building was awesome. The offense still isn't going to be good enough to win you enough games, probably, to get where you want to go. But the Patriots defense is going to keep them in a lot of games this year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We talked about the potential to have a top unit, and they look the part. Tyson, let's move into a stock down real quick, and then we'll flip flop back and forth here. The Seahawks. They looked horrible. That offense. Now, here's my concern here. Is it fool's gold of what they did last year, and we kind of bought in? Me being one of them, I just want to take a shot on them if the Niners weren't good. Hell, forget if the Niners aren't good. The Rams they pushed them around. They dominated them. Like this was eye-opening second half for what the Seahawks did. And this was at home against an inexperienced Rams team. Stock way down for me on the Seahawks.
That was brutal. It was rough. Stock down here for me. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense that was lauded in the preseason. This is going to be a way different unit. Kenny Pickett threw 7 touchdowns and 9 picks last year. Or was it 9 touchdowns, 7 picks? Whatever it was, it wasn't good, right? So this is a group that played together probably more. I don't know this for sure, but it felt like more snaps together in the preseason, at least more drives than any other team in the NFL. So they're putting up all these numbers on everybody else's second and third strings, and it's great and it's good. And then Deontay Johnson is still running around wide open by himself until he finally gets the ball, and then he hurts his hamstring. And then George Pickens makes an incredible catch. He just happens to be out of bounds. I think we can get used to that. Can't run the ball, can't throw the ball. Matt Canada is still the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL.
7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year. First game, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions this year.
What the?
So, yeah, there you go. Back to stock up for me, Tyson. How could you not just love what the Dolphins did? Holy smokes. If that's going to be the offense, they're going to win the Super Bowl. Legitimately, because we know Vic Fangio doesn't do well with defenses in the first year, but if they continue to grow, and that's a high-powered offense that they face in the Chargers, so I'm not being oh, that defense stinks, because the Chargers are going to put up points all season, but that offense was ridiculous. Tyreek Hill running wild. This is also a game last year where it really exposed what Mike McDaniel, Tua, and that offense was doing. They completely went in with a plan of attack, had Tyreek Hill running free. Jalen Waddle, he's the second guy after not scoring 200 or having 200 receiving yards. Oh, he finished with 75, which is what you want from a receiver on your second option. And I mean, just if Tua looks immensely better, like he's stepping up in the pocket, making throws on the run, and people hate this kid. It's ridiculous the amount of criticism that he gets while so many other quarterbacks are giving passes for bad performances. And when he does something like this, nobody is saying how good he looked. Like, I mean, he was unbelievable. So major stock up for the Dolphins. If they look like this throughout the rest of the season, they will win the Super Bowl.
Tune on his back, baby. Stock up for me. The Los Angeles Rams, more specifically Sean McVay. Remember when, like, a year and a half ago, basically, if you were in the same room as this guy, you got at least an offensive coordinator job?
Yep.
And then their best players get hurt, and their starting quarterback gets hurt, and we all just pretend that he doesn't know how to call an offense anymore. I mean, Puka Nakua's out here with 150 freaking yards. Kyron Williams is making things happen in the run game. It wasn't always as easy as the Rams made it look, which is not a sentence that we said at all last year. I mean, dude, they're physical. They between them and the Cardinals, it was a confusing day for the NFC West. I mean, and they bodied the Seahawks too.
Stock down. Well, we mentioned it a little bit. It's got to be the Ravens for me here, Tyson. Like, we all heard about this supposed revolutionized offense that was coming in, and Todd Monken's going to just change everything that's going on here. Lamar Jackson, okay, 17 of 22. Yeah, not bad, but 169 yards and a pick, no touchdowns. And he was also the leading rusher. Now, J.K. Dobbins got hurt, but Lamar only carried the ball 6 times. Like, they're going to have to figure some things out, or else they're in big trouble. And, like, the window may already be shut. Like, that's the problem here. Like, that championship window when they were running wild, like that, I mean, geez, Tyson, does that feel like it was a decade ago? Because they don't even look like the same team. So stock way down for me on the Ravens as well. And I don't want to overreact because I think they will get better and they'll get more accustomed to this offense and with each other. But I just didn't see anything dynamic besides Zay Flowers on the field that showed me that they can actually be contenders.
No, it looked like this. I mean, Mark Andrews is out, so maybe we'll see something different when he's back. But they look like the same offense to me. And we touched on this one a little bit already too. My stock down here is Brandon Staley. Defensive mastermind, genius. The guy to shut down Miami for the first time last year gets an entire offseason to think about facing Tyreek Hill and Tua and Jalen Waddle. Devin Achane's not even playing, right? He's injured, so now it's Mostert out of the backfield. This is what you came up with?
Oof.
This was the game. Like, you did the same thing because it worked the first time, and Mike McDaniel came in with a completely different approach on how he's going to handle you on offense. And then after halftime, it looks the exact same again. At a certain point, like, when does this guy stop becoming a defensive head coach, Brad?
I don't know, man. Yeah, because Tyson, the crazy thing was too, like, they were no in-game adjustments.
No,
like
they didn't
nothing.
They did this. They played the same way for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I do think now Staley's a disciple of Fangio. Did that help to the offense knowing, like, okay, here's where we can attack them? And obviously, with an offseason, this is what they wanted to do. But you got to know that they're preparing to attack things like that. Like, come on now. Like, that was bad. Final stock up for me here, Tyson. I got to say, I was super impressed with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson. Like, I did not think it was going to look like as explosive as it did, because there were things that were missing and there were some bad decisions that Richardson made. But first of all, I love that they let him throw 37 times. Like, sometimes you just got to let the kid rip, and you're going to learn, and you're going to learn from your mistakes. But 223 yards and a touchdown, had an interception. Okay, that's going to happen. He's a rookie. It's against the playoff team last year, won a game. Added 40 yards on the ground. Now, I didn't love the 10 carries and some of the hits he was taking. He got hurt at the end of the game, but he did run in, and I think you can use him in spots, kind of like a Josh Allen, and just kind of get rid of some of that mentality that you're still in college and you can play. But Tyson, here's the good news. Michael Pittman, who we had questions about, 8 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. If he can be an alpha, that speeds up this process for the Colts and the development of Anthony Richardson. I was really impressed with what the Colts put out on Sunday.
I was too, and it was impressive to see Pittman take off like that down the sideline. I don't know if he's been He has been banged up, so we haven't really seen that juice from him in a minute. But it was nice to see him back, and I'm the premier Michael Pittman hater, and he played really well yesterday. That was actually going to be my last stock up, so I'm going to throw one in here for you. Baker Mayfield.
Oh,
And he didn't like blow anybody away. He didn't do anything all that incredible. He just happened to throw the ball to the guys that were open at the right time in the game, and he won. They were not supposed to win. Devin White was maybe the best game he's ever had as a pro, which is pretty crazy. But like Tampa Bay has better players than a lot of other teams in the league, and it kind of felt like at a certain point this offseason when it was, the way the season went last year and Tom Brady leaving and bringing in a new quarterback, and it was like, oh, this thing's not going to work. And then the game starts, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's still Mike Evans. That's still Chris Godwin. That's still all these studs on defense. The Vikings might not be good, but Tampa Bay's 1-0.
yeah. I thought they had a good game plan. They executed. Did they get a little lucky? Hey, you need that. That's what the Vikings lived on last year, and it finally came back and bit them. So there, Bucks, maybe they have – this division is bad, man. The NFC South is horrible. Like, God, imagine if the Bucks have a shot. Final stock down for me, and you're going to love this one, I think. It's Justin Fields truthers. Now, I don't want to just bang on this kid because, listen, he's still figuring it out, and he's got a lot of growth to do and things like that. But, my God, I mean, people were putting the gold jacket on him before he even played a snap this season. It was ridiculous. Like, MVP, what reason? Like, he still needs to be able to pass the ball. And if you look at his stat line, I can just hear it now. What are you talking about? He's 24 of 37, 216. We just weren't watching the same game then because a lot of those completions were behind the line of scrimmage, short outs, screens, things like that, because that's the only way that right now he can try to push the ball down the field. Like, he cannot drop back and throw this ball. And Tyson, that interception he had was horrible. The fumble was bad. And like, people are going to say dual threat. Oh, 59 yards on the ground, this and that. He's so dynamic. The Packers defense, they just let him kind of do what he wanted, like scramble around, whatever, and we'll kind of corral the ball eventually if we get there. They didn't let him break off a big one, and they forced him into bad decisions. And if you're going to get that from Fields, this team is going to be bad for as long as he's the quarterback. Like, he has to take a major step, and we have not seen anything close to giving us evidence that Justin Fields can take that next step. And so all those people who said, this guy's MVP, this guy's already elite, this guy's so-and-so, stock way down on if those guys are your friends or if those are the analysts that you listen to.
Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough one. And it's been a tough, 40 years for the Bears for the most part. My last stock down here, Brad, is offensive lines in the NFC East that have to play the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how you're going to fit that on the bottom, but holy shit. Like, Philly had 70 sacks last year, and almost like they're close to the record and all that stuff, and they're going to be the ones, right, to come back. They get Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis is back healthy. Like, this is going to be – the Eagles' defensive line is going to be awesome. And then Dallas just does what they did to the New York Giants. And, like, we're shitting on Daniel Jones. The dude was running for his life or getting smacked every single snap last night that he that was a passing play. They are electric. They're fast. They're just ridiculously quick. I mean, a 2.5-second pocket doesn't even cut it against these guys. It's going to be a long year, I think, and that includes Philadelphia, who their offensive line looked like they were getting introduced to each other for the first half of yesterday's game. Dallas is going to be a real problem, and like, Washington got bullied on the line of scrimmage by the freaking Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, you can't let that happen, especially not when Michael Parsons and all those guys are coming at you. Yeah,
no, that's good. And I tried to fit it, but no, couldn't. NFC still lines who have to play the Dallas Cowboys. Stock down. Because I think there's going to be some rough moments this season. All right, Tyson, let's close it off. Let's get into some money-making time here. I in our chalkboard, which Tyson will tell you about at the end, I placed 3 bets already for week 2 in the account. And if you're like, what already? Here, guys, like, the NFL is so hard to beat. All the pros, like, and we are not pros. They say, if you want to win, try to get the best of the line, try to identify some line movement, and so you can get some closing line value and beat some of the final numbers. And so that's what I tried to do here this week. And I kind of recognize some of the things, and, it's not always going to win. But I have 3 plays that I played, and one's actually in the Thursday night game, Tyson, and I'm surprised it hasn't moved yet, just based on some of the injury reports that's come out. So I think it's a little slow to update here, to be completely honest with you. But I love the over in this Vikings and Eagles game. over 48.5 here on Thursday Night Football. The Vikings defense is not even going to be as close to as good as what the Eagles saw against the Patriots. This is a secondary for the Eagles that got picked apart a little bit by Mac Jones and that Patriots offense. Bradbury's dealing with concussion symptoms, so he is questionable. And then Nakobe Dean, their starting linebacker, is out with the Liz Frank injury. And so you're going to have some backups in here. I expect there to be a lot of points in this one. I think the Eagles can do whatever they want against that Vikings defense. And I actually think the Vikings will be able to put up some points in this one. So over 48.5 for me as my first play of the week.
That was bold after what we saw week one, taking it over as your first play here, because there was not a lot of touchdowns this weekend. Hopefully that improves, not only for bettors, but for fans. Brad, a play that I have here, I have the Chargers -3 at Tennessee. I know I just put Brandon Staley in my stock down. Ryan Tannehill is the ultimate stock down for me after this week. Like, dude, they looked anemic. They looked inept. Chigakonko is streaking down the sideline by himself 4 yards over the top of his head. I was 3rd and 10. I don't care. I'm just going to throw it into triple coverage to DeAndre Hopkins, right? I mean, how are they going to score the ball? It doesn't really even matter how bad Los Angeles defense is, but we'll see with Austin Eckler being banged up right now. I just have a feeling this thing gets to 3.5 or 4.
Yep, I like it as well. I'm thinking I'm going to place that too. The Chargers didn't get any pressure on that Dolphins offensive line, which I think is factoring into this. But the Titans offensive line was bad. Like that
was the best the Dolphins offensive line has looked in a year and a half.
Yeah, and so next play for me, I'm taking Giants -4.5 on the road at the Cardinals, and this has moved against me. It's actually now -105 on FanDuel right now. I think this is a major overreaction to what we saw on Sunday, and it happens a lot. Bettors or other people just kind of think, okay, what we saw last, that's the resonating thing, and we think about things. Cardinals actually look pretty good. The Giants look terrible. Here's the difference: the Cardinals aren't going to have the defensive line to get after that offensive line that the Giants have and force Daniel Jones into certain situations. Also, teams who get embarrassed coming off a primetime game, they normally bounce back. You're going to tell me that this is about a touchdown game on a neutral? That's hard for me to kind of fathom here. And I'd like Daboll as a coach. I know we were tongue in cheek a little bit about his Coach of the Year award, but I'm going to take the Giants -4.5 in a bounce back game. It may move against it. I thought it was actually going to get higher, but it looks like it may actually get down to 4 at some point, but which obviously I would like still.
I'm going to the Atlanta Falcons +1.5 at home against the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones is a little banged up, right? And that was for the last 3 years, really, but especially yesterday. That was the majority of the Green Bay Packers offense. Romeo Doubs is awesome. He's not going to get to play against Jaquan Brisker for a while. Like that secondary, Eddie Jackson's getting crossed up in the middle of the end zone. Like if that guy can't cover, they're dead. Atlanta, Jesse Bates had one of the all-time great introduce myself to the crowd and the fans moments in his first game for Atlanta. I just think they're going to be able to control the ball, control the clock. And if Aaron Jones can't go at 100%, which I don't think he's going to be able to, I really, really am getting to the point, Brad. I don't trust A.J. Dillon to be able to be a guy that you can hand the ball off to twice and have a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Like, everybody's riding high off of what we saw from the Packers. Falcons, I don't necessarily think they look great, but I'm curious to see what that offense does. Yeah, he's horrible.
Stinks.
He's horrible.
Why you draft Drake London to throw it to him once?
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Do you need more 6'5" pass catchers, dude? I mean, I'm sorry I'm getting into this, but I mean, come on.
It's
like
crazy.
Him and Pitts, what are you supposed to – whatever.
Like, yeah, there's no point in having – they told us the entire offseason this offense is going to look different. It was worse.
It was just like, hey, Bijan's going to be the new Cordero Patterson until he comes back.
Yeah,
that was
basically what it was. Yeah. Final one for me. So I had Saints -2.5 on our chalkboard. It's moved up to 3. So, obviously you wanted it to be under 3. So I actually got a little line value here. If it goes above 3.5, which is -120 on FanDuel as we're recording this, like that may be a little bit too far, but I just don't think the Panthers are going to be able to attack the Saints defense. And the Saints offensive line struggled, but that's a really good Tennessee front seven. And they were able to get after the passer and force Derek Carr into some ill-advised throws. Now, he still was able to put up a good amount of yardage. I just think this wide receiver unit is going to be able to go crazy on the Panthers, who we didn't see what they could do last week. But I don't think they're going to be able to get after the passer as well as the Titans did last week. And so I'm laying under a field goal here with the Saints. Now at 3, probably wouldn't touch it. At 3.5, definitely wouldn't touch it. So you got kind of monitor this, but that's why you got to get in our chalkboard, which Tyson will tell you about at the end.
And that's the only 2 I've placed so far. I'm thinking about trying to talk myself into the Denver Broncos, Brad. I just don't really want to do it.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough.
But if you're curious if I'm going to place that bet, that will be in the Chalkboard app. It's on the App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. Our group name in there is ISWIS Presents the Roundtable Bets. And we are throwing primetime player props up in there before every Thursday, Monday, and Sunday night football game. Unlucky to start the year in our first 2. Hopefully, by the time we get done with this, Dalvin's finally cleared the 10.5 yards that we needed for the receptions there. But we'll have those in there every week. We'll have our other picks for the NFL as well. And then, Brad, I mean, not for nothing, but it's kind of starting to smell like basketball season. We're not very far away, and baseball playoffs are coming up. So there's a lot of stuff to be betting on right now. We're playing it all. Just hop in there and tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, definitely. Link is in the description for watching on YouTube or podcast form. Like, subscribe, and share in the meantime. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube and you are 150th subscriber, you're going to get sent $50 to Amazon. I'm just telling you that right now. So share the show with your friends. Share it with your enemies. Doesn't matter. Just get the word out there. It really helps us out. We really appreciate all the support from you guys who do watch and do listen. So we'd love it if you shared it with the rest of your friends.
There's a fear that Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is dealing with an Achilles injury. It is unknown as if it is ruptured. He will have an MRI on Tuesday. So tune into our Wednesday show because look, man, there's never really a fear that something's wrong with the Achilles until there's something wrong with the Achilles.
Yeah, I mean, an X-ray's not going to tell you that. So those come back negative. They're looking for broken bones. And so I think a little bit more prodding around that foot and that ankle, it kind of told you. And he didn't look like he rolled anything. I kind of saw that. I was like, I think it's either I said it's a calf or something, and I didn't think it was Achilles based on what we saw. But that would be brutal for the Jets and Rodgers. But like Tyson said, we got a ton of content coming out later this week. More college football stuff, more NFL stuff. We're doing 2 NFL shows a week, 1 college a week. We do a bonanza. So make sure you stay connected with us on our social media pages, X, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same at ISWIS_pod. We'll talk to you later in the week for the college football episode. Speak to you guys then. Peace.